What's the message?
Yeah, we're doing a naloxone training.
What's that?
Naloxone is an opioid overdose reversal medication.
Oh, y'all, what? For opioids?
Yeah, so
That's the message is about opioids?
well, we're doing a training for if people overdose, how to reverse it.
What does opioid overdose have to do with this?
You know, I think that this is a conversation to have later, maybe.
What the f?
If you're addicted to dope, then you should get Narcan. And either way, the Pharma Mafia, the greedy globalist henchmen, and the government thugs win. What is up? My name is Eric. This channel is called Report and Opine. I am back. This, of course, is the epicenter for all of your current and captivating coastal elite chaos. So please hit that subscribe button, like the video, ring the notification bell, leave a comment or two, share this with a friend. Let's go. Alright, so a while ago, I did make a video about Narcan, but so much has happened since then, and it felt like a perfect time for another Narcan conversation. And California is notorious for its homeless problem. This is not a secret. As hard as some people might try to keep it under wraps, everybody knows, and anyone who wants to pretend that, oh, well, we just need more federal funding, we need more money for housing and services, that person is either misinformed, to put it nicely, or they are trying to misinform you, maybe a little bit of both. And people on the streets will oftentimes admit that they do not want to go to a shelter, because typically, even in these crazy blue cities, you cannot use drugs in the shelter system. I'm not sure how they enforce that. But when people are on the streets, they get really mad when they are being documented. I promise you that if you go to the Tenderloin or the Mission District in San Francisco or Skid Row in Los Angeles, people will get mad at the sight of an iPhone. And then you have the Narcan pharma zombies who may not be addicts, or maybe they are recovering addicts, and they say things like, you're only documenting this for clickbait or fame or whatever.
He now is like still exploiting people who use drugs.
It's fucking bananas out here.
Right? For money.
Don't ever disrespect looking like you just got electrocuted. Don't ever disrespect looking like you got knocked out by Debo.
He doesn't do this for entertainment. He's getting paid. He's getting paid by clicks. He's getting paid by like the Fox News. He's getting all kinds of like, internet fame and fortune that comes.
And it's like, when people are committing these crimes, it's all well and good. But as soon as that crime gets documented, then it becomes a problem. But that aside, they put up ads for this Narcan stuff everywhere. They have billboards in San Francisco, subway panels in New York City, which basically means that these places have already been sold. I mean, how many bureaucrats do you have to go through to get a Narcan ad on the New York City subway? They're all in on it, and why not? The money is green, I'm sure. They claim this stuff is helping people, and sure, perhaps it helped a handful of dope fiends, but it also is helping some more political type people in a different way than it is helping the street dwellers. And Narcan obviously comes with more than a few issues, because not only do the drug users know that they will be revived on command.
I don't want to arrest her or anything. I'm not.
She hasn't taken
any. I'm just concerned for her safety.
But as he continues to assess the situation, the deputy decides it's best to give her Narcan.
I think I'm just going to give her some Narcan just to be on the safe side.
Oh, that's probably a good idea.
Well, thank you for looking out for her.
Yeah.
Hey, we're going to give you some Narcan. Hello. Hold on. Can I give you this?
And a couple of minutes later, the woman responds.
Hi. Oh, there we go. Hi.
Look at that.
But one dose may not be enough.
Yeah, I mean, just to be on the safe side, I might give her.
And that's what I'm talking.
Deputy Bloom decides to give her another.
700 people.
Beautiful.
700 people overdose. There you go.
San Francisco's Department of Public Health says scenes like this show just how simple and safe it is to administer naloxone spray.
People are often surprised by the fact that it's a very simple process. It's a very simple training to go through to learn how to save a life. And
So far this year, the city's handed out more than 70,000 doses of naloxone spray, more than double last year's number, and it's upping up efforts to train more people.
it was several years ago that we trained the sheriff's department, but that's also an ongoing relationship. Today, I am doing a training with the staff at the federal building.
Meanwhile, back at Civic Center, the paramedics arrive.
You sure you don't want to go to the hospital?
They offer the woman services, but she walks away.
You want any social services?
Yeah, and what we just saw at the end there, the woman walking away, it's such a big challenge in this crisis. I spoke with the paramedics on scene there, and they say as much as they try, when somebody does refuse services like that, there's really little they can do to force them to get the help that they need.
But they also know that this Narcan comes with other free stuff, needles and spoons and tourniquets, all types of dope-themed paraphernalia. I'm sure we all remember the free Narcan and dope kit vending machines that were put up in New York City and completely emptied only a day or two later. But the government, specifically in San Francisco, is quite literally giving these people everything but the dope itself, and I could actually make the argument that they are indirectly giving them dope too by allowing any and everyone across the border. And maybe the dope is being cooked up in San Francisco or Daly City or Oakland or Berkeley. But we know, for the most part, the dope is being produced in China and trafficked into the United States by cartels. So when the border is literally being pried open and fences and protections are removed, they are actively human trafficking and drug smuggling at the same time. And I don't know how deep this runs, but I think it'd be fair to say that either way, the government and the farm mafia come out on top, because either you get street dope or you get FDA approved pharma dope reversal medication. Now, certain politicians are constantly asking for more federal funding for the housing and the harm reduction and things like that. And of course, the farm mafia gets to put their dope, and it's always free. It's free to the end user. It's free to the dope fiend because the deal is already done. It's kind of like that Rona serum that I'm sure we all remember. You get a free Rona shot. It's free at the point of injection because the deal is already closed. Does anybody really think that the brave folks at Pfizer cooked this up out of the kindness of their heart? Or maybe there was an incentive for a bulk purchase by the government. And it's funny how quick they were to force pharmaceuticals on healthy people, but they are not so quick to force junkies to get clean. That day is never coming. Anyways, according to the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration, SAMHSA, naloxone is a medication approved by the Food and Drug Administration designed to rapidly reverse opioid overdose. It is an opioid antagonist, meaning that it binds to opioid receptors and can reverse and block the effects of other opioids such as heroin, morphine, and oxycodone. Administered when a patient is showing signs of opioid overdose, naloxone is a temporary treatment and its effects do not last long. Therefore, it is critical to obtain medical intervention as soon as possible after administering or receiving naloxone. And Narcan, of course, is just a brand name for naloxone. Most people know the name Narcan, which is produced by a company called Emergent, but the generic naloxone is manufactured by a company called Teva. And if either one of these companies are profiting off of these products, why would they want the drug epidemic to end? Just like how local city governments get money to throw at homelessness, if they fix the problem, that well is going to run dry. So they're not just maintaining the status quo, they are actively making these problems worse. So a classic situation of create the problem, sell the solution. So they make money by trafficking people and drugs, both legally and illegally, but also they create a population that is dependent on dope. They are dependent on the government, and they are happy for whatever crumbs are thrown their way. They are living in a haze so close to death, they're never going to snap out of it and stand up and say, what's going on here? They're not going to question anything that the government does. They're not going to protest. They are in a permanent zombie-like state. So, yeah, they might shoplift or boost, as they say, a little bit, but they're never going to threaten the power structure. I mean, most people could never threaten the power structure, and if they did, they would certainly become immediate targets of every single alphabet organization in the country. But these fentanyl trank zombies are never going to come close to that. They're just going to steal and get high and sleep on the street, and the cycle repeats. So naturally, who has their hands all over this Narcan or naloxone product? It is the Soros family and the Open Society Foundation. A lot of people don't know this, but Soros was instrumental in legalizing medical marijuana in California all the way back in the early 90s. But the demon, the old demon that he is, it's always a long con. So what used to be, oh, doc, I had a football injury in high school, or I can't sleep, so I need some weed, has now evolved into free Narcan and needles 2 or 3 decades later. If you look at the Open Society Foundation website, you will see that back in 2011, they published a PDF type of manual thing called Stopping Overdose, in which they state, overdose is a major and often overlooked cause of death among people who inject heroin or other opioids. Yet there is a safe and effective treatment. Where have we heard that? The medication naloxone. This public health fact sheet describes how naloxone is successfully being used to reverse overdose around the world with no side effects beyond opiate withdrawal. It provides real-life examples of programs that have trained drug users, their families, and friends to efficiently identify signs of overdose, administer naloxone, and often save lives. And it explains in depth why naloxone is an invaluable tool for empowering communities to protect their health. Then, in 2013, they published an article titled Cheap, Easy, and Life-Saving Naloxone Treatment for Overdose. This was written by a man named Daniel Wolf, who was director of the International Harm Reduction Development Program at the Open Society Foundations. Where have we heard these terms before? Like I always mention, there is a laundry list of dystopian, Democrat, doublespeak euphemisms, and harm reduction is certainly one of them. They plan to reduce harm by handing out needles and other assorted paraphernalia. Fair enough. There's also gender-affirming care, inflation reduction, asylum seeker, the list goes on. And on the opposite side of that, they will demonize anybody who does not agree with them by calling them the most degrading names in the book just because they objected to a single piece of insanity they tried to pump out. You could be on board with 99 out of 100 of their talking points, but if you miss that last one, you will be thrown under the bus. But back to the issue at hand here. In 2020, the Open Society Foundation posted a video highlighting their Naloxone Saves tour, in which they tied together immigration and racism and policing and gays and drug use and all sorts of things. It's also a Christian initiative sponsored by an organization that was founded by, let's say, not a Christian. And at the end of their service, people get to walk to the altar in the style of communion to pick up a dope sick kit.
Here, Faith Communities, we've been doing this tour called Naloxone Saves. Naloxone Saves is a Christian worship service that celebrates the power of resurrection by training people how to recognize and respond to an opiate overdose, and also distributing naloxone to the community free of charge, no questions asked. We bless the kits and we bless those who will use them and those who will be in need of them. And then afterwards, people are invited to come forward, sort of in the same style of communion, and they get to come and pick up as many kits as they need. One of the biggest things that's going wrong in the state of Ohio, and I think across the nation, is that we're continuing to prioritize the stories of white suburban youth that have been lost, when we know, and in the state of Ohio, that the highest increase of overdose death rate in the state are among Black men and in communities of color. And those communities are still being neglected, just as they always have been.
And it's always life and death. They are saving lives. If you are not on board with this, you just want people to die. Also, in 2021, they published an article titled 3 Decades of Drug Policy Reform Work that's basically a highlight reel of the Soros brand of narco-terrorism that's been going on all over the world since at least 1994. Building the Foundations of Drug Policy Reform, 1995, Preventing HIV Among People Who Inject Drugs, 1996, Supporting the Legalization of Marijuana for Medical Use in the U.S., 1998, Establishing U.S. Field Office, 2002, Securing International Funding for Harm Reduction, 2004, Reforming Drug Laws in Russia, 2005, Expanding Access to Treatment, 2006, Building International Solidarity, 2007, Reducing the Impact of Incarceration in the U.S., 2009, Former Presidents and Small-Scale Cultivators Call for Change, 2010, Reforming Racist Drug Laws, 2011, Establishing the Global Commission on Drug Policy, 2012, Confronting Abuses in Drug Detention, 2016, Lifting U.S. federal ban on funding syringe service programs, 2018, Advancing Right to the City, 2019, Establishing Supervised Consumption Sites, 2020, Winning Decriminalization Worldwide. And there is plenty more where this came from. You could click around the Open Society Foundation website for hours and see for yourself some of the things that they proudly admit to and disguise as philanthropy. And I am genuinely baffled by the idea that anyone can see this and think, yeah, well, they're saving lives. I mean, to me, it's all so transparent, but I guess with enough money and decades of brainwashing, you can literally convince anybody of anything. And while the real money trail is hard to track, so I can't say this or that is funded by the Soros Foundation or the Open Societies Foundation, I should say the language is there, the influence is clearly there, and as most people already know, this man and this organization is hell-bent on destruction. So, if it's Rona that you're afraid of, even if overdose deaths outpace Rona deaths in San Francisco by a wide margin, you should get a Pharmafia shot. If you're addicted to dope, then you should get Narcan. And either way, the Pharmafia, the greedy globalist henchmen, and the government thugs win.